Now to bring you sports here on the AM show with me, Muftau Nabila Abdullah. The Parliamentary Select Committee on Sports and Tourism, they have begun hearing of Save Ghana Football petition that was submitted to them in February. Save Ghana Football lead convener Sadiq Adams and the Minister of Youth and Sports appeared before the committee and answered some questions. My colleague Victor Achutamaklo was there and has details in this report.
The Parliamentary Select Committee on Sports has begun deliberations on the contents of the petition filed earlier this year by the sports pressure group Save Ghana Football. After Ghana's abysmal showing at the African Cup of Nations in Côte d'Ivoire, the group led a demonstration against the Ghana Football Association and the government over what they described as the mismanagement of the game. Appearing before Parliament today, lead convener for the group, Sadiq Adams, a sports journalist, re-echoed the 15 points plan the group submitted to Parliament for the resuscitation of the sports.
National Sports Authority, the act or the statute that establishes the National Sports Authority mandates them to run the affairs or liaise. They are supposed to lay down the policy for all the sports federations in this country. And so federations like boxing, tennis, have to go through the National Sports Authority. This is the statute that establishes our body to run sports in this country. The Ghana Football Association is not an exception of these federations. So I'm not sure that when the statute expressly states that the National Sports Authority is the body mandated to have all these federations under them in terms of governance, it goes against that same statute that is explicit in how it is run. On the management committees, it is our suggestion that if government that pays for the affairs of the national teams cannot indicate to the Ghana Football Association or cannot liaise and cooperate that the 7 members, we have found that globally there is a way to do this without compromising the orderliness and organization of sports.
Sports Minister Mustafa Yusuf was the first public official to appear before the committee, and he highlighted some moves made by government to address the concerns raised by the group in February.
And that sports policy, as we have said, have been transferred to the National Development Planning Commission. They have made their input after all the stakeholders' engagement. They have made their input. Is at the final stage of it being launched. So, in their grievances of the lack of football policy, once the policy is adored, most of the issues that need to be addressed will be captured in the policy. Aside that, we are all aware that we have a National Sports Act, the National Sports Authority Act, that was established in 2016, and with your support, we have worked around the clock to get the LI, the legislative instrument, also put in place. Now the legislative instruments have been passed, and this instrument will also help in making sure that we improve on our policies and making sure that we regulate the sector very well and bring in dividends and improvement in the sector.
The minister also denied suggestions that the country did not get value for money in the millions of cedis spent on rehabilitation of the stadiums in Cape Coast, Accra, Kumasi, and Tamale.
The women in the African Games, the competition took place in Cape Coast. The men took place in Accra and in Legon. So once you finish a major tournament like this, there should be rehabilitation for those facilities. And this rehabilitation is currently ongoing in both Accra and in Cape Coast. And because SCAF have not come to certify the work that we have done, and the only one they've certified was Kumasi, and they've withdrawn, we have indicated, we have notified CAF that the rehabilitation work that we started immediately after the AFCON has been completed. So that is why I'm saying that it is not just about the expenditure that we have spent and it has not been used. We have hosted major and played major tournaments. Major tournaments, and that is the Women AFCON, the African Games. We've played both most of our qualification matches in Cape Coast, and you know.
Honourable Minister, do we say that per your submission, National Sports Authority failed its responsibility?
Of course, on Kumasi, if they haven't taken that singular action, we played Central African Republic match, and there was no any problem.
When things calmed down, the Ghana League Clubs Association took their turn. The group was led by its chairman, Kojo Fiano. Among many things, Fiano asked for tax reliefs for its members.
Or we think as an association, our preparations for major tournaments is always not up to the scratch. A simple decision as to where to even assemble for the pre-tournament preparation is more often than not well cut out. In some instances, we are expected to play in Africa in the climate. We rather go out to Europe to prepare. The call-ups. At time when the call-ups are announced, Ghanaians, being football fanatics, are ready to punch holes in the call-ups. Some of the call-ups have a lot of question marks around them. Now we all have the opportunity of watching European games. Some players are called and you ask yourself, what is the pedigree of this player that has been called to come and play in a top tournament like AFCON or World Cup qualifying series?
Chairman of the committee, Kobina Woyome, was satisfied with the day's work.
Yeah, it's been quite okay. I mean, even though there were some small attempts to be evasive, but I think we've been able to glean what we want. To an extent, 80% of what we want. And we also rely on the documents that we have requested for. And so those documents will come. And don't forget, there are people also doing some talking behind the scene and giving us what we need to know. And so we're going to put all of these things together and then be able to probably invite, when we are not clear with some of the answers, invite some of the witnesses before us again.
From Job 600, Parliament House, Victor Achutamaklu for Joy Sports.
Joy Sports Invitational 2024 has been officially launched. The launch took place yesterday in the studios of Joy Prime, but there was a simulcast on Joy FM and also on Joy News on this very show. The Chief Operations Officer of the Multimedia Group, Ken Ansah, extended invitations to some chief executive officers of some of the corporate organizations in the country, asking them to participate in this year's event.
It is the biggest corporate sports event, right? And we bring all corporates on board. We get them together to network. We get them together to expose their brands. And we get them together to also exercise and, you know, get themselves healthy as they pursue their corporate objectives. And so in times like this, I must say that it was a bit worrying that we had to rest the invitational for a while. But I'm very excited that we are back. And coming back in 2024 after a bit of COVID, after all those things, you know, it's a good time. And so a very good time that we are going to get ourselves rejigged, all the activities coming on board, and so many CEOs coming in to show what they have, what they've been doing behind the scenes all these while. And let's go compete.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chief Ken, I know you want to also throw an invitation out to your colleague CEOs as well. Which of them do you want to throw the focus on at this time?
First of all, we have Ernest of the CEO Network.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And you know, he has this beautiful community of CEOs where a lot of conversations go on. And Ernest to be the first I will invite.
Very well.
I don't know whether he has a team, but as CEO of CEOs, he definitely should be able to be in there to compete. But beyond him, there are a number of CEOs. We have 2 great CEOs here already. We also have my good friend Kofi Adumako of GCB Bank.
Oh, great.
We have our dear friend Mansa Nete of Stanchart.
And Chief Ken, you know the interesting thing about Mansa Nete? So Mansa Nete and Didier Drogba share the same birthday. Yeah. I don't know how that is going to affect her performance. You know, and they are also the sponsors of the Joy Sports Center. And they are shared sponsors of Liverpool as well. So maybe she's going to Anfield to train before this.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised. You know, she's normally on the fire, but you never know what she's cooking. You know, so we will see on the day.
Very well.
I can't you know, belittle what she will bring to the board. We also have Henry of Zenith Bank. Reverend Daniel Asiedu of Omni Besic.
Oh, interesting you mentioned those 2 as well. Yeah. Mr. Henry Onwuzurigbo is the only CEO with a surname that has 5 syllables. Now, we're playing 5 penalties. Yeah. So maybe, just maybe, we could be expecting something interesting. And Omni Besic and Zenith Bank just held their health walks recently. I mean, Zenith Bank was just last Saturday, and Reverend Daniel Asiedu. And you know, Reverend Daniel Asiedu was also transferred from, you know, he did a transfer from Zenith to Omni Besic. You know, it was a big transfer. So a big news from the transfer market.
Actually, a prelude to the invitation. All those warm up under the guise of health walk and all those. You know, don't underestimate that.
Very well.
When people are doing those close to the tournament, then you know what they have to. You know, and we have. Badoro, Georges of Nestle.
Oh,
and we
Nestle.
have our Ashok, our own Ashok of Poly Group.
Very well.
And then Daniel Macaulay, doctor of Magnan Group. He's also being
The other day, about a couple, like 5 tournaments ago, Dr. Macaulay came to the tournament on a motorbike, but he didn't win the CEO's penalty shootout that day. So maybe he should park the motorbike this time.
We don't know how he will come this time, but don't be surprised he comes on a horse.
He's full of surprises sometimes.
Yes.
And this is how we're wrapping up AM Sports here with me, Muftau Nabila Abdullah. We appreciate your time.